Hey guys, coming at you again with another knife review. This time on another sort of unheard of brand. This is a SARGE branded knife. It is the SARGE SK for SARGE Knives -406. I've owned this knife for many years. You can actually still get it on their website. Their website will be down below, but it's sargeknives.com for those of you who want to jump the gun. As I said, it's the SK-406. Currently selling for $21.95, which, as durable as this knife has been for me, that is a steal, in my opinion. If you're not going to use it the way I've used it, and they could probably go a little lower on the price, but I would pay $22 for this knife again, easily. Just go over a few of the specs with you. It's a satin finish, hollow ground blade. They say it's 3 3/8 inches long, with a Rockwell hardness of 52 to 55. They say 440 stainless, but they don't say what 440 stainless. I would say it feels like 440A. It just does. But you can sharpen it up really easily. It cuts very, very well. I've used this a lot as when I was a mechanic, and I carried it pretty much daily, and I love this knife. It feels good in the hand as well. Overall length of 8 1/8 inches, and a closed length of 4 3/4 inches. And I would say those specs are pretty dead on, just in my opinion. Stainless steel handles, frame lock knife, which is actually a really nice frame lock. Now, mind you, I've owned this knife for many years now, and that's where the frame lock still is. Absolutely zero problems out of this frame lock. It's never failed me once, and I have used this for some of the most atrocious things ever. Actually, in my opinion, it's sort of a beautiful knife. You got the Sarge medallion inlaid here into the maple burl handles, which are disgusting from a lot of used motor oil and things like that. This one's still not quite as bad as the front one. Very functional handles too. It's just sort of a swell of a maple burl here, and makes it very comfortable in the hand. Most knives that are just stainless steel down here aren't very comfortable, but this one is. Again, no jimping on this knife, but because of the way this handle's made with these cutouts and grind lines, very, very comfortable. It just nestles in your hand. Really no hot spots either. I mean, I guess if your fingers were an interesting size, and if you had smaller hands, you might could find some hot spots. I don't know. Maybe if you had larger hands than me, like fatter fingers than I do, you'd probably find some hot spots here. But as it is with me, I'm not really finding any hot spots on this knife, and that's a rarity. There's usually one or two, but for me, this is not a problem at all. I sort of like this relief grind on the top here. It's unsharpened, but it gives you nice penetration if you really need to, push it into something. I wouldn't use this knife for self-defense at all. So stabbing, I wouldn't say that. This is an everyday carry utility knife, and it is a large everyday carry utility knife. On that note, let's take a look at the weight here. But that's what this knife is to me. Comes in at 4.7 ounces, and for a knife that's just pretty much a brick of stainless steel, that's not bad. For the amount of durability that you get out of this knife, 4.7 ounces is fine, in my opinion. Again, I do like the chunkier, beefier, heavier knives. They're going to last you longer. They're going to be better. Now, when I said, well, I take that back. Not necessarily better. But, yeah. In my experience, the beefier the knife, the more heavier built it is, the better of a knife it is going to be. Also, it's a pretty slim knife. Where there are no scales, I mean, this thing is tiny. It's just pull the calipers over again. We'll measure this. It is just over 1/4 of an inch. It looks like 5/16. So 5/16 of an inch thick without the wooden part of the handle. At the thickest part of the wooden handle, it is, well, just over 1/2 inch, about 5/8 of an inch, somewhere around in there. So not all that thick of a handle, not all that thick of a knife overall. Like I said, let me move these lights just a little bit. Like I said, I've carried this knife so much that, I mean, of course I'm going to have some issues with it. And the issue now is up and down blade play. Let me see if I can. And that is pretty much the only issue with this knife. Side to side blade play does not exist. And centering, still pretty darn good. Now, like I said, I've done a lot of prying with this knife. I've done a lot of cutting with this knife. I have done some chopping with this knife. And it has responded well. To be a smaller brand, sort of no-name knife, it has really done well. I couldn't have really asked for more from it. And like a lot of my knives, this knife, I've sort of kept the factory edge and just sort of kept it up on some ceramic rods and a little bit of stropping and all that heavy cutting. I've even cut into some softer metals with this. I used it to scrape gasket material off of aluminum, even off of steel. What is going on with the lights today? But yeah, the edge in some places, I know down here it's not sharp at all, but yeah, let me see if I can actually, part of it is still decently sharp. I didn't know if it would do that or not. But the only other gripe I have about this knife is that now, well, it's not a gripe. The abuse that this knife has been through is just insane. I really can't even begin to relate the abuse that I've put it through. But the thumb stud is a little bit loose. You can sort of wobble it, but it's not coming out anytime soon. Thumb stud deployment is wicked fast, and all you have to do is just press here, and the knife drops free. Granted, I oil my knives and keep them up, Loctite on the pivots and everything. It's perfectly fine. Also, looks like you can't adjust the pivot on this knife, but you can if you remove these two. These are actually hex screws. You can take the clip off and get to the pivot adjusting screw on the bottom. Now you can't flip this around because there is a D system. It's a D pivot that sort of locks in here. The stop bar is all the way through one solid piece of stainless, and it does a very good job of keeping this blade in place. Very, very sturdy. Flow-through pillar construction, it is not skeletonized at all. That frame lock is just, I would call it a frame lock because it's the frame. These are just sort of stuck on here with some Allen hex head screws. But I would call this a frame lock also. It's just really beefy. But I guess it could technically be considered a liner lock as well because there are scales. As far as the pocket clip, it is right side tip down carry only, but it is an extremely deep carry. A lot of people hate tip down carry. I don't mind it. It's just as functional to me as tip up carry. I can slide this out of my pocket and just pull it straight out. No problems whatsoever. I like the knife. I just love this knife. I also kind of like this almost is reminiscent of like a knuckle duster pattern down here on this handle. Now the new ones are not going to have maple burl handles. It doesn't. I don't think it says what type of handle it is, what type of wood it is, but I must say it is a beautiful handle, and I kind of want to get one of the new ones just to see what exactly the handle material is. But yeah, all in all, I don't think you can do wrong by this knife. just the amount of abuse it can take, just the sheer cutting power it has too with that hollow grind. I'd be looking forward to more from Sarge. I have a few more of their knives I will be reviewing. The SK-406 is this one, but I also have the SK-405, and it is the original version of the 405, which is slightly different than the new version in looks and appearance, but same steel, same construction type and everything. So yeah, Sarge SK-406. I really like this knife. It's one of those no-name knives that actually is a winner in my opinion. The only knock against it for some guys would be made in China. Don't think you can go wrong here. Also, before I forget, it's on Teflon washers in here, so that's what gives it that nice flick. Put a little oil in there, little Hops No. 9 gun oil, which is what I use on all my knives, and you should be good to go. Thanks again, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe down below. Send me a private message. Ask me some questions. Tell me some stuff that you want to see. If I didn't cover something in the video, let me know. Ask me, and I'll try to comment. Maybe add it into the description. Also, links will be below on where you can find more information on this knife and where you can purchase it. Thanks again. See you guys later.